Hello. Well, mission accomplished, but not exactly the way we were hoping for. What's going on the side of my screen there? I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening over there. Oh, well. Well, you're just going to have to deal with whatever's happening over down. I don't know what's happening there. I don't know what's happening over there. Nonetheless, let's talk about hockey. Let's talk about the Golden Knights making the playoffs for a seventh time out of 8 seasons, as I tweeted out later. It's supposed to be hard to make the playoffs. The Golden Knights do not make it hard at all. 8 games still left to play. They're already in the playoffs. Now the division getting a little tighter. LA seems like they're going to get a little closer. It's going to be 5. I still don't believe that they're making up 7 points in 8 games or 9 games or whatever it is. So I think the division's pretty well locked up. I'm kind of just focusing on whether it's going to be St. Louis or Minnesota. St. Louis, another comeback win today. I can't believe that happened. Nonetheless, here we are with another trip to the playoffs, likely another home game to start the playoffs. What I've been told is that April 20th is the expected first game. It is Easter Sunday. It is likely going to be a day game. That has not been confirmed or even necessarily scheduled. That's just kind of looking at the way things are going to work out. I would expect it to be a day game. I have gotten a pretty decent confirmation that the plan is for the games to be on the 20th and the 22nd. So I think it's pretty clear to start making some plans for that if you are planning on coming down for the playoffs. As far as what today's game looked like and what to kind of take away from today's game, it sucks to clinch the playoffs when you don't win. Like, it's kind of goofy to have it not happen last night, even though it looked like it was going to, and then it looked like it might be a good situation with St. Louis, and all you would need was a point, and then that falls apart, and then you get it with Calgary losing in Utah, and it happens kind of right in the middle of the collapse inside of this game. So it's kind of a weird scenario. I feel like it kind of goes that way most of the time. I'd have to look back at how it's actually worked over the course of the years. But for whatever reason, it seems like, oh, I know why there's a thing there. There, now I fixed it. I put my little light over top of the camera. For whatever reason, it doesn't seem like usually the Golden Knights clinch by just winning a game at home. That's not usually the way it goes. Typically, when they win series, it happens on the road. Thank God the Cup final and the when they actually won the Cup, it was here. That was good fun. For that to occur here was a lot more enjoyable than anywhere else. Nonetheless, clinched is clinched. Now I think they can start looking at maybe doing some sort of rest. I think that's already happening a little bit with Pietrangelo, potentially happening a little bit with Hurdle. I've kind of said this a little bit, but I'll reiterate it on this. I have been told multiple times, and it has been confirmed multiple times, despite what the news coming from Cassidy has been, that the expectation is that Hurdle will not miss playoff games, that there should be no issue for him getting back by playoff time. So I wouldn't worry much about that. As far as how many preseason game or how many regular season games he plays before that, time will tell. We'll have to wait and see what occurs on that. Nonetheless, focusing on this game, I think the wrong team won. I actually think the Golden Knights were better. Like, I know that the second period kind of got away from them and there were some puck management issues and it kind of spiraled a little bit downhill. The 5-on-3 obviously cost them the other penalty with going the goal, and all of what occurred, it kind of just got out of hand quickly. That's not something that has happened all that often to the Golden Knights really recently. So that's not something that I have all that much worry about. So that's good. Penalty kill, I thought, was good when it wasn't 5-on-3. When it's 5-on-3 and they have Draisaitl over there and Nugent Hopkins makes a great pass, there's not a lot you can do. And then he rips a shot right in the middle of the goal quickly off his stick. Got to deal with that. Like, don't take the 5-on-3. So really, 5-on-4, I thought the penalty kill was pretty good. I thought they were pretty solid. So to me, the push in the third period was good. I thought they deserved a lead in the first period more than just the one goal. I liked how they played most of the night. I think if you play that way in this building more often than not, McDavid's out, I get that, but also Hurdle's out, Pietrangelo's out. Like, they're not equal. Nonetheless, if you play that way against this team and this goaltending, today's Cal Pickard, more likely it would be Stuart Skinner if we see them down the road, I think you win. I think you win more often than not. So to me, I'm not all that concerned with how it went. Now, I'll talk a little bit about this because I think I'm in a little bit of a different mind than Cassidy and certainly other Golden Knights folks around the building. I thought the goal was good. I understand that it's out of frame and that it does seem like it's covered, but it's quite a short time, and the puck underneath his pad clearly is not covered enough that he actually has it. It's just under there somewhere, leading me to believe that it's probably actually loose underneath Hill. The fact that it was a simple jab and the puck came out so cleanly without his pad moving at all, and it trickles into the goal with some steam, at least more steam than you would expect if he took the pad and pitchforked it into the goal. To me, like, yes, they could have blown the whistle dead, or blown the play dead. I do think that that is a legitimate argument, but I also think that situation's going to occur, and if the puck is not truly covered, if he's got his glove on top of it, if he's got a pad on top of it, if it's in between the pads, if it's wherever, usually there's actually some pressure on the puck, and a simple jab isn't going to push it out and put it all the way into the goal. So to me, it wasn't as covered as what we would normally think. Could they have blown it dead? Absolutely. Nonetheless, it's more about the situation that occurred to allow that to happen. They have a clean exit. They have a good situation. White Cloud thinks he's going to hand the puck off to Theodore, then decides, I can't hand it off. He's coming the wrong direction. Ends up kind of fluffing it forward. You turn it over. You're outnumbered at the goal. Puck ends up in the net. I didn't mind the challenge. I thought it was worthwhile. It's clearly a goofy goal. There's certainly potentially something there. Pad could have potentially been moved. I do believe that they could have gotten goaltender interference called. I'm not surprised that they did not. Nonetheless, I don't mind the challenge there. I felt like the penalty kill was doing fine. I thought they were going to get out of it. They did end up getting out of it. So I don't really mind the challenge. Nonetheless, I think the game more comes down to a couple of missed opportunities. They hit a couple posts. They hit a crossbar early in the game. The big one's the Dorofeev missed right in front of the goal. They have a wide open net. It looks like that one's going to be a goal. There's another one where Eichel had Pickard pulled way out of the net, hits a pass to the back door. It gets taken away. Looked like that one could have been good. Carlson on the 2-on-1. That one could have been an opportunity. Like the amount of times the puck is headed away from the goalie and the goal is wide open seemed large enough that you can get more than 2 goals in this game. 1 power play drawn. That's another thing that we're going to have to start really keeping our eyes on moving forward. And I think that's something that, looking at how it's going to go in the postseason, that's kind of a place that could potentially be a problem, because at times this team does slow down a little bit at 5-on-5, and they do rely a little bit more on their penalty or on their power play. And when you play a game like this where you get out power played 4-1, you end up on the wrong side of it, which is disappointing. This Periscope and all Periscopes are brought to you by the Jimmerson Law Firm. Jimmerson Law Firm is one of Las Vegas's preeminent law firm, specializing in high-stakes business, civil, and family litigation. When winning matters, seek out the Jimmerson Law Firm. Again, the matchup between these two teams, I think the Golden Knights play the better style of hockey more often than their opponent. I know it ends up going down as 2-2 on the season, but I think if these teams were to match up, even with McDavid in the lineup, assuming the Golden Knights have Pietrangelo, the Golden Knights have Hurdle back in the lineup, which I expect both to be in the case, I like the matchup. I don't think this is a team that I'm all that concerned about. Now, maybe they look different if they get through LA, or certainly if they get through LA easily, and we end up having like some sort of long battle with Minnesota or St. Louis, maybe we feel a little bit differently 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever it is from now. But as of right now, I think the bigger portion of the games, the Golden Knights have been better than Edmonton. So to me, goaltender advantage is there, coaching advantage is there, depth advantage is there, defense advantage is there. Power play isn't nearly as much of a stretch as what it used to be, even though the Golden Knights penalty kill is not particularly good. The Golden Knights power play is so good that I don't think that the gap in special teams is even there. I think the Golden Knights might even have the upper hand in that, and that was definitely not the case 2 years ago. So I don't mind this matchup. I think this game further confirmed that, even though they lost it. I'm not concerned about that. Now, we look across the board and say, all right, well, what does it look like against Minnesota? What does it look like against St. Louis? I've looked into it a little bit. I don't think the red hot team necessarily has an upper hand in a postseason. Maybe Thursday, maybe Friday. I don't know when it's actually going to happen, but historically, the team that comes in red hot does not always go far in the postseason. I got to do a little bit more research on how it looks in the first round, how often a team that's coming in. I mean, because reasonably, St. Louis is probably, if they're going to face Vegas, they're probably going to be looking at about 20 wins in their final 25, 6, 7 games. That's going to be pretty red hot, as red hot, if not hotter, than the Golden Knights coming in, especially after they drop this one in regulation. Winnipeg coming here on Thursday is not going to be an easy game. Then you've got the 2 back-to-backs. We'll see how that goes. I believe the number to clinch the division, let me pull it up. Somebody just asked that. Hang on. The number to clinch the division remains at 12. So still some work to do there, but 8 games left. I think it's still highly, highly likely. I don't even think it's going to be all that much to sweat. Does it happen early enough to get the rest for some of these guys that maybe you're going to get? Maybe not, but I think they're in a good enough position either way. I do think it's LA, not Edmonton, that's going to be the one that's going to chase them down. They play each other twice, I believe, so that potentially could make it even easier for the Golden Knights to get across the line to win the division. I think they will win the division. I believe that they will host either St. Louis or Minnesota. Looking at the schedules, looking at how it looks like it's going to go, the way the teams have been playing, it looks like it's probably going to be St. Louis. I don't mind the matchup. I really don't. We'll talk a lot more about that as we go forward. Back to this game. A lot of time early in the game, Eichel was the chosen one to play against Draisaitl. I said this in my 3 takeaways of the game. I think if Eichel and Stone are going to play together, they have to be a plus, especially if they're drawing the difficult line. They were not today. They give up the first goal. They were kind of the reason it was under-rotated or whatever you want to call on that goal. It's a 3-high situation. It's something that I do think teams have had some success against the Golden Knights with, certainly under the Cassidy era, because oftentimes what happens is they bring another player up to the top. Where it's real dangerous is when the 2 defensemen are the 2 on the side. So you have one defenseman along the boards, one defenseman in the high slot, and the other forward drops up to the blue line, and they can take the puck down. It was not the case today. It ended up being Podkolzin that comes up in the middle. He gets the pass. He gives it off to Wallman. Wallman has time to rotate down. The problem was Eichel kind of chased a little bit too far out to the boards, to the point. Then the pass comes into the middle. Now they have to chase behind that. Stone has to step up to take away that play. Puck gets beyond him. Now you've got a pretty good look coming downhill. I don't know if the puck deflected in beyond hill or not. However, giving up that opportunity is not necessarily one you want too often. I do think 3-high is something we have to look at moving forward because it has been dangerous, especially for teams that have struggled to get to the front of the goal, which in this game, I thought Edmonton was a little bit better in that, certainly in the second period, than a lot of the teams the Golden Knights have played recently. Teams like Nashville, Chicago, who else did we play? Tampa couldn't do it really at all. Boston couldn't do it really at all. Detroit in the second game couldn't do it at all. It was those teams were struggling to get to the front. If teams are struggling to get to the front of the goal, dropping a third player high towards the blue line can be an option. And it does seem like it pulls the Golden Knights apart a little bit more than I think it necessarily should. I think if they can stay in their structure, allow the wingers to defend the 2 wide players, and the center just comes up and challenges, there's not going to be a lot of traffic in front. The 2 defensemen should be able to box out the other guys in the middle. It shouldn't be all that dangerous. But for whatever reason, oftentimes the second winger gets pulled to that guy in the middle, and that's what allows that opportunity for that pass to go. They get a downhill look, and those tend to be dangerous. Those lead to dangerous rebounds. Now you got to box out and figure out what's out in front. I do think that that's something that I'm interested to see. Are you going to see that in a playoff series? And it's something that I'm interested to see, like how much does St. Louis do that? How much does Minnesota do that? Team that I know the most that does it is Colorado. They do it a lot with McKinnon. Not probably going to see them until the conference final, so we wouldn't have to worry about that till then. But that is one little wrinkle that I look at and I'm interested. Power play, the entries were bad today, which is rare. We don't see a lot of that. I'm not that concerned about that because usually that's not the case. If you have a game where your entries are bad, if that were the case over and over and over again, maybe we get a little bit concerned about it. I don't think Hurdle's really a big difference maker on the entries, so I don't think missing him is necessarily the reason. Um, I do think you had that opportunity where the puck did get into the middle and it didn't get off as cleanly as maybe it did. Maybe the 6-on-5 looks a little bit different with Hurdle in there. I'm not so sure. They had one really decent opportunity. Pavel zips it over the goal. Like, you'll take that chance more often than not. He's been hitting the net most of the year. I feel fine with that situation. Somebody asked earlier, what do I think about the Dorofeyev Saad Wad line? I think they've done well. I do think that they are heavily protected, and that often is going to come into play a lot more against the teams that don't have as much depth. Edmonton is a team that can have depth if they are healthy. They are not. So the fact that they do not have all of their players, they are a little bit shallower of a team than maybe we've seen in the past of this Edmonton team, or certainly what it would look like against the St. Louis, against the Minnesota, against an LA. I just think that defensively, I'm a little bit concerned if they get put in tough situations. I don't know how well that line's going to hold up if they're not starting in the offensive zone, holding the puck in the offensive zone, handing the puck off to better situations, getting opportunities consistently. If they have to play the up and back game, I don't know they come out on the winning side of it. So long term, if that's what it looks like, because we feel we fell in love with that line and we want to put Hurdle somewhere else, I don't know that I feel terribly confident with that in a postseason series. I would rather Hurdle goes back in there. I'm also, if Hurdle's healthy, I would prefer Dorofeyev's on one side, Howden's on the other, not Saad. Then you make the decision, is Saad the one that comes out? Is Saad the one that moves down? Do you put Pearson out? What does your fourth line look like? I think there's different options there. And maybe Saad has found some success with Wah. Maybe that's a fourth line you can utilize. Kolazar is a much more consistent puck handler down underneath the goal. I think he fits with Wah very well, and maybe Saad's speed can open things up. I don't mind that as a fourth line. I do think long term, once everyone comes back, once they're in a better position with the health and with Hurdle back in the line, I want Howden up the lineup in the postseason. I think at 5-on-5, he's a much better offensive option, even than Smith, even than Saad, certainly than Pearson. I think he's the better guy, and he's more of a playoff type guy, getting to the front, arriving on time, doing the things that are in front of the goal that I don't think you're necessarily going to get from Saad. And at times you've got it from Dorofeyev. I'm interested to see how much we get it from Dorofeyev in the playoffs. We will see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. That's all I've got for tonight. Again, I don't think it's a terrible game. Yes, the second period wasn't particularly good. I'm not all that worried about it. Like, I think I'm pretty convinced now, with this being the last game against Edmonton, I feel pretty good against them. Even with McDavid in the lineup, I feel pretty good against Edmonton. I feel pretty good against Minnesota. Actually, I feel really good against Minnesota. I feel pretty good against St. Louis. Like, I like where the Golden Knights are headed here. I think they're playing strong hockey, and even in a game they lose, I don't feel terrible about it. I think they're heading in the right direction, and I think we're in. Now that we know that they're in the playoffs, I think we might be in for another long playoff run. Like, it's setting up pretty well. So that's all I got. See you later.